Hey everyone. I was going to make a video just about my language goals for 2013, but the explanation got more and more complicated. So I figured I would just split it into 4 different parts. Now, if you're interested in a certain section, go ahead and click on this. These are like little buttons, and you can click on it and it'll take you right to that video, or that part of the video. I'll just go on. I'll talk about how many languages I speak, languages I studied in 2012, and then my language goals for this year. Right now is January of 2013. And then how do you say X in X? Just for fun, I'll teach you how to say each of those languages names in that language. So, how many languages do I speak? It's a difficult question. And to talk about it, I think I should explain this sort of chart that I drew here on this paper. Basically, there's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I would call fluent to be anything sort of in this upper, intermediate, and higher. I understand that this and these letters and numbers are a European way of organizing. It's called the European Framework for something languages something. But here in the United States, we don't really have any formal way of measuring it that I know of. But this makes sense to me. A1, A2 is beginner, B1, B2 is intermediate, C1, C2 is advanced. I would say up here, you feeling very confident with the language, you would be able to manage a conversation with a native speaker for an extended amount of time. You're starting to understand more subtle uses of the language. You have more synonyms. You can understand when something sounds funny or wrong or archaic. And here you're using a lot more of that sort of just able to deal with the language in more situations and with more subtlety. C2 is you're a master of the language. You know almost every word. I mean, most days you don't hear a new word. That's where I am in English. My Spanish is not quite as good as that, even though I'm a native speaker. I grew up in California speaking English. So my English is very strong. My Spanish is very good, but not as good. And then French would be next. I would say I'm advanced in French, although I don't practice it that much. But I did take a test in it just a few months ago and passed it. It was a very hard test. This is the CSET, which is a test in California that you have to pass to teach French. And then I would say Japanese and Russian. Now, a little background of these. Russian and French were my majors at college. This is at UC Davis back in the 90s. And Japanese, I learned, I took 1 year of it at Davis and then lived in Japan for 2 years. But what I'd like to do here is I'd like to cut this into 2 parts, because Japanese is famous for its writing system, and I feel, so we can say there's the speaking, hanasu koto, hanasu. This is to speak, and then write is, I might be missing one extra line there. But here I would say that my speaking is I feel pretty good with it, but my writing is just not as good. I mean, I'm not even totally sure about that. I might be missing an extra line in there. So my writing is down here. I mean, I think I'm a high beginner in writing, maybe, and reading, but my speaking is pretty good. I feel pretty confident with it. Russian also is really tough to read, but speaking I can get by. This is where I was. Actually, I should say some of the things I had studied. By the end of 2011, I had studied a little bit of German, a little bit of Hindi. I knew some Italian. I'd say I was more advanced in Italian, and some Portuguese. I've also color-coded these a little bit. The blue languages are Romance languages, and then Germanic languages are purple, and the rest are white because I didn't have that many colors of cards. So something like this at the end of 2011. Okay? So in 2012, actually I should say this. So what happened in 2012 is I studied a lot of Italian, and I would say that my Italian's even better than my Russian now. And that's probably the answer to this question. My most confident answer is I would say 6 languages about. Still not totally confident with that, I guess. But I would say I'm fluent in 6 languages.